welcome to Tim's Workshop. Getting back on the Mercury Mark 10 here. I took it out for a test run. I didn't record it because it started and would run a little bit and then die. You know, it just kept doing that out on the lake. It ran okay in the barrel, but something between hauling it to the lake, I think it jarred something loose, and I think it's a spark. For one thing, it sounded like it was running on one cylinder, not two again. But it also did something with the fuel that was crazy too. It was like it was running out of fuel. I think that was my fault because I don't think I squeezed the ball up properly. I've learned that on the Mercury 60 horse on a prior video that you saw, where I figured out that the squeeze ball has an arrow on it, and you got to have it pointing up vertical, and when you squeeze it, you can't squeeze it to the side like this. It doesn't work that way. You got to have it up, because when the check valve, when the line is full, the check valve will close once that ball's pumped up, and then it'll stay that way until you get it started, and then the fuel pump will draw the fuel up to keep that fuel going through your lines into the carburetor without any air in between. And that's what was going on. It was sucking air. So I think that I got that figured out, but I want to try this spark on this thing, so I'm going to shut the lights off here. I'm going to show you too. I came up with I got this online, and what it is, let me take this off here so I can show you. So here, it's a ratchet. So once this thing starts spinning faster than 600 RPM, it'll ratchet. It won't tear your arm off. So that's why I got it. Okay, so we'll turn this off, get it situated, and then we'll turn it back on for the testing out the spark on each one of these and see if it's consistent. So I got this this more secure so it doesn't flop around so much, and I got the camera zoomed in right as close as possible to the spark, so it'll show the spark when it goes off. Okay, so I'm on the bottom cylinder, so let's try it first. I'm going to close the door so we get rid of some of the light here. Focus in on where that right below the flashing light there. Okay, let's spin this around a few times, see where we're at. All right, ready? Okay, now we're gonna change the spark tester up to the top plug and try that. Top one. See if this shows up better. Here we go. Try it again. Well, let's pump this thing up. I've noticed that there's gas coming out of this when I pump it up. It's coming out right there. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me get the camera closer so you can see it. Get the tripod down closer. I think you could see it there. Right here. Look at that hole there. See that? Huh. Now it's coming out the front of the carb. So I don't think it's supposed to do that. So we're gonna have to fix that. Let's get it started though. I think it'll still start no matter what. All right, let's get this thing started. So I've already had it started once, so I don't need to choke it. Make sure it's in neutral. Okay, let's give it a try. Nuts coming loose. I gotta get the torque for this thing and torque it. Being good. I don't know if you can see it right there. Being good. I don't think it'll idle though. If I turn this to idle, well, I guess it does. Not the greatest, it needs to be adjusted, but with the carb leaking like it is, I think I need to fix that first. But it's working. Got to look up the torque for this thing. I'm not sure what it is. There's nothing written on here. I may have to ask somebody that has antique motors what the torque is on this thing. I haven't found it yet. In fact, it looks like I'm missing a washer. Huh. Yeah, I think there's supposed to be a washer here too. Alright. I'll pull up the schematic. Actually, I got a book that shows this stuff, but it doesn't have the torque of all things, you know. It's got missing pages in it. I got it on Amazon for cheap. Well, that's probably why, because it only had certain things in it. We'll look up the torque on this. I'm going to take the carburetor off. Going to look to see. Usually, when the fuel starts coming out the carburetor, it means that the float's stuck. Okay, so the float on this thing is like a floating cap that goes up and down on a post, and it has a little spring on it. You know. I think that the post might be gummed up a little bit, so not allowing the float to go up and down. So, and I got to see how, when the float's up, with the fuel up, how it's supposed to shut off this hole over here. I know it's a breather hole of some sorts, and you know, all carburetors have like a breather hole on them to let air in to the venturi part of it. So anyway, we'll take it apart and we'll look it over real good, and then we'll hook up a hose to it and test it by pumping it up, making sure it's not leaking still after I go through it. So first of all, let's take this, move the camera here. There we go. Let's take this fuel line off of here. I put different fuel lines. The fuel line, this is the original here, and it's getting pretty old. I'll probably end up replacing that here soon, not right now. But this one here was leaking, so I went ahead and replaced it. There we go. Before you can take this, these nuts, there's a nut here and one on the other side. Before you can pull this carburetor off, you got to take the choke lever off, and there's a nut here to do that. So we'll go ahead and take that loose first. I can't remember what size it is. 11? Yeah, how about that? 11 millimeter. Let's do the open end of it. It has a warp washer on this, so you don't go too far with it. Where it actually makes it so it's easier to turn back and forth. I believe that's the purpose of it. This thing hasn't been out in salt water, so, which I don't plan on taking it out in salt water ever. In fact, if I'm going to test it, it'll be in a lake, probably Lake Washington, with the big boat. I tried this on the small boat. It was too heavy. with me in the back of the boat and this thing in the back of the boat, it was just too much. Not enough room to, you know, pull on the cord, you know, to start it and all that. So this is meant to be on a bigger boat. As a kicker, it could be, you know, or the larger versions of the Mark 10 were used on little mini hydroplanes years ago. See how that goes? Got the warp washer there, lever. You unscrew this and screws right into the carburetor. Let's put this fuel cable out of the way. Oh, still 11 millimeter. Convenient, 1 wrench. I'm using a metric, but I think it's supposed to be a standard. There's some slop in this with 11 millimeter. It's working. Quarter churn at a time. And you can't take the nut completely off. You got to take both nuts loose and just keep pulling on the carburetor to give yourself enough room to keep going until both nuts are off. There we go. Okay. Okay, got one nut off. Okay. There we go. Yep, not much to it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the top off, just a couple screws, pull this out, get the float out of there, see what it looks like. Let's get the fuel out of it first. It's funny, I turned it upside down and all the fuel came out that same hole. Yeah, we're going to have to check that out and see what's going on with it. Let's take this off first. I ain't worried about the fuel filter yet. So the wife wanted a new laptop, so I got her old one. And for me, it's a big upgrade. Alright, what's going on with this thing? Let's see if this float moves. Yeah. Yeah. Comes right out. Ooh. Looks pretty dirty in there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, it's not. Needs to be cleaned. Maybe what's going on with this needle. Well, I can see the hole and it comes out on the inside and there's nothing that's supposed to be there as far as I can see. I think what I'm going to do is get this thing clean. There's cork down in there. This is the metal filter. Yep. Gonna clean this thing. That might be why the fuel's coming out of there. So we're gonna clean it, clean the bottom of this. I think the jets are okay. I'm going to shoot a little oil in there. WD-40? Why not? Cool. Just make sure it doesn't stick. Okay, so that's back together. Shoot a little WD on that O-ring or gasket. Try that. I found the torque for the flywheel and the carburetor initial settings off a website that I found. So let me show you what I found here. It took me a while to find it, but it was actually kind of easy once I found it. So you pull up Kuikenhofer Mercury Vintage Outboard Motor Service Manuals for only $4.95. Okay, so I purchased a PDF file and now I have it, and it's really extensive. I mean, it goes through all the Kuikenhofer motors, all of them. And the one I'm looking for, of course, is the Mercury Mark 10. So, first of all, I found the flywheel torque for the Mark 28, 28A, 15, 10, and 10A. Okay, so that's what I want. You go down here to the second dot down, which is flywheel to crankshaft. And over here it says 65 foot-pounds. Hopefully you can see that. So there we go. And it has connecting rod nuts, water pump cover, water pump plastic, clutch torque, spark plugs, center main bearing torque, reed stop screws, reed valve opening, which is kind of interesting. Exhaust cover screws, cylinder block cover, crankcase to cylinder block, gear housing to drive shaft housing, starter motor to crankcase, you know, if you have a starter motor. This one doesn't, it's pull start. Power head to drive shaft housing, you know. So it's got all that information on there. Now the carb adjustment. Okay, initial adjustment. Okay, and this is the correct carburetor for this unit. And there's two different types of carburetors. Okay, so for single carburetors. So Mercury carburetors are of two types: gravity fed and pressure feed. The difference is that the fuel enters the bottom of the carburetor on the gravity feed. Okay, this one here, the fuel comes in the top. Okay, this is up. It's called the pressure feed type. So this is a pressure feed, which means it has a fuel pump. Okay. Alright, so the initial settings for the high speed adjustment, right here, and the low speed adjustment, I have these down on seat right now. So I'm going to counterclockwise them out. So the initial setting, churn back one full churn, okay? The idle adjustment screw, okay? So this one goes back one full churn. So there's, it's almost like 3 and 9 o'clock here. So we're going to go a half churn and then a full churn. Okay, so that's where we want to be on that one. And then for the high speed, which is this lower one down here, we want to go 1.5 turns. So we're going to go half, 1.5. Okay? So those are the initial settings. Okay, when you're adjusting your idle screw, which is the slow speed, have it in forward gear. Turn the screw inward clockwise until motor starts loading up or slowing down or firing uneven due to the mixture becoming too rich, okay, because of lack of air. So when you're adjusting this out, you're letting more air into the mixture, okay? Well, let's get this on there. Alright, well, I got the carb on there. Got to get the choke on. The old choke lever with the crush washer. Now the fuel hose. I got this set up. I run it down, the nut down till it's starting to get tight there. Let's get it up to 60 foot-pounds. There we go. I think that's what it was, 60, not 65. No, it's 65 foot-pounds. Alright, go up another 5. There we go, in the hole. There we go. I got it. So that should keep it from... this thing works pretty good. See the line across there? I want to keep the prop from getting bent up, that's for sure. Well, it's torqued. Hopefully when I start it with the drill motor, the nut won't come off anymore. Alright, I think that's it. Okay, let's start this thing up. Put the choke back on. Sure it's in neutral. Can't have it in start when you switch gears. You have to have it in the run position. Up, then we'll adjust the slow speed. Staying nice and cool. Get over here where you can hear me. So it's peeing good. Staying cool, nuts not coming off. Seems to be missing a bit. It's not leaking fuel anymore. Fuel pump's working. Still got a mist though. It's running on both cylinders, but it's got a mist. And that could be the carburetor adjustment for the slow speed. It says to warm it up before you adjust it. Get my screwdriver. So that's it for the Mark 10, fixing the fuel leak on the carburetor and tightening the flywheel nut to the correct torque. As you saw there at the end, I had it started and it was running okay. It's got a miss. The spark plugs, I haven't taken them out to clean them, so that could be a spark plug issue. And it's way overdue probably for spark plugs. So I'll look it up, make sure I'm getting the right spark plugs for that motor and replace them and see if that helps. I didn't adjust the carburetors yet. I'm going to wait until I make sure that it could be the spark plugs that are making it miss a little bit. And it actually ran pretty good in the barrel, so I was able to put it in gear and put it in neutral without it dying. So it just has that annoying little miss to it. And I let it warm up, and it didn't seem to be getting any better. So I think it's a spark plug issue, and that's happened before on my Mercury 60 horse. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back and do part 2 of this when I get back to it, and go for a lake test, hopefully. All right. So if you like the video, please subscribe, leave comments, hit the notification bell, give me a like if you like it, and let your friends and family know about my videos too. Thanks.